Hello. So it is. Oh, yeah, it does. So I am streaming Spheal and with a yogurt berry parfait. So I guess it visually looks pretty similar to a panna cotta. Um, that's the name I was trying to look up actually. I was like, I know there's a dessert that looks like this. That's not called a parfait. So anyway, it's fine. So I got one that looks good enough. So yep, so today I'm gonna be drawing Spheal. And so got the reference of Spheal, got the reference that I want to use for the parfait, and then the pose, the sketch that I just did a few minutes ago. So I think I'm just gonna have Spheal kind of like, having fun in the parfait and just like barely fitting at the top of the jar. So it kind of looks like he's like squished in, but I think it'll look cute like that. Probably have a little leaf on his head too. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started then. Let me just close out of this. I'm just pulling up the references on my other screen. Cool. Okay. And then get started. So I guess I'll first draw the parfait, just because I like to start with the food first. But before I do anything, I like to set the background as a neutral gray. So I believe it's just color here, yeah. So, and the reason I do this is because it helps me with my coloring. So the way I color usually is I tend to be quite soft and pale with my colors, but that's not the look I'm going for. So because I like sort of vibrant colors, I use the gray to kind of force me to almost choose like darker colors, I guess. Because if I start out with white, then I'm kind of comparing all the colors to a white background, and I find that tends to wash out my piece if I do that. So this was something that I noticed other artists do when I was watching other people's time lapses. I noticed that a lot of artists didn't keep a white background, and I thought that was very smart. They probably teach this in like art school too. I know that in some traditional paintings methods, you can have like what's called, I think it's like an shoot, what's it called? Like an underlayer or something like that. It's where you actually wash the whole canvas in a specific color that you want the tone to be in. And so that kind of helps set the mood. Yes, I'm just layering in a lot of the flat colors for now. I'm not doing a whole lot of detail. I like to just like block in all the colors first. I do believe I'm gonna have to shrink this jar in a little bit. So I'm gonna cheat a little bit and transform the shape. I think I want it a bit squished, a bit more squished. Okay, I'm also gonna draw the blueberries before I draw the Spheal. Usually I like to leave the Pokemon for one of the final parts. I'm drawing what I believe these are cherries here. When I pick references, I like to find ones that have a lot of different colors. I don't want to like have just one single color because it makes the piece a little dull. And I know a lot of artists kind of hesitate to use references. Like I guess some of them feel like it's cheating or something. It's really not. It's something that is, I think, encouraged actually in professional art, because there's no way for you to draw something if you don't understand how it actually looks in reality. All right, I'm gonna make this jar actually fatter. Kind of want like a fat jar, makes it a bit cute. I was having so much trouble finding a reference photo for Spheal. I already did Lemonade for a print that I drew of Spheal already. But I didn't want to do that again. I know I repeated a reference for Marique, but I didn't want to do that for like Spheal too. I think that's too repetitive. I wanted to do something a bit different. I do find I use blueberries a lot for the foods, just because it's like one of the few naturally like bluish foods. So actually, let me draw this Spheal. So yes, I am gonna shrink the food a bit, just because I need a bit of height for this Spheal, and I do want to keep this kind of square-ish. That's usually the shape I go for my charms and my stickers. Just like I don't like making them like too long on one side. Add another layer for now because I might shift them around a little bit. You make him super round because Spheal is basically just a ball, big blue ball. And he also has a little tail. I think that tail's actually a bit too high. Move that down. And Spheal also has a yellow underbelly. And these little tiny ears here. I know you can't really see anything right now because I haven't done the lines, but you will see it eventually. I'm just weird and I don't like using lines to start, especially for like characters who have very simple shapes. I don't think you really need lines. Okay. Let's do a bit of shading to start on the Spheal. I usually don't like doing too much shading on the Pokemon at the start, just because I like to get a feel of how the food's gonna look, and then I start incorporating colors and shadows from the food onto the Pokemon so that it kind of all comes together. We will just do like a basic kind of shading. My cat's just swishing her tail in front of my screen right now. It's like blocking part of it. She's getting a bit excited because it's almost feeding time for them. And you'll notice that I usually like to work a little small, so I don't really like to do a lot of zooming in, especially not near the beginning. You just want to make sure that the overall piece, like when you're kind of looking at it from far away, looks okay. don't worry about the little details. They don't really matter at this stage. You just want to get like kind of the big idea down for the most part. Just getting some of that preliminary shading on Spheal. Nice thing about Spheal is that he's super easy. Shape-wise, you don't really have to worry too much about him because he's literally just a ball. It's great because I just came back from working from the office, so I just needed something a little easier. Okay. So now I'm going to go back to working on this jar. Oops, not on this field either. Just do a quick flip. So flipping helps you see a lot of the mistakes that you make, especially for an object like this, which should be like, in terms of the shape on the outside, it should be pretty symmetrical. So you can kind of see I do have like a bit of a bias in terms of how I curve some of these parts. All right. Just checking my reference. Hoping I'll get this one done in less than 3 hours. Yesterday's piece did take me a bit longer, but Mareep is also kind of complicated. I'm gonna make the top of this blueberry section here a bit lighter. And you have a lot of the black part at the bottom kind of seeping upwards. Right now, the body of the jar doesn't look too interesting, but that's okay. Um, we will add more reflections as we continue on. And here I'm starting to add some of the reflections in the jar. And right now they don't really make sense when you look at them. That's okay though, because not every stroke in your painting has to make sense. You have to aim to have the viewer understand the piece as a whole when you look at everything holistically. When you look at individual elements, it's okay that you can't seem to make sense of it. It doesn't have to make sense. I think one of the most challenging parts of art is that sometimes you're working on a piece and then you look at it and you're just like really dissatisfied with it, and you don't kind of feel like an uncertainty as to whether this will even turn out well. Right now I'm experimenting on like some desk mat designs, and honestly I don't even know if they're gonna turn out well because I've never done anything like it before, in that like I'm not painting them how I usually paint my food prints. Instead of the food being the focus, it's more of the environment being the focus. And so I'm testing it out right now, and just like it's not quite speaking with me. I kind of see it possibly working out, but it's like, is it going to turn out okay? Sometimes you just kind of have to trust your eyes and like know that if you're able to, you know, paint according to the references you pull and paint from your imagination, then in theory it should turn out okay. Sometimes it's hard to like have that kind of faith. Just gonna shove this up a tiny bit. I will need a little more space at the bottom. The reason I'm not changing the size of the canvas is because I generally like to keep all my like keychain files and my sticker files more or less the same size. It's just I just like consistency. A bit weird like that. Just adding some of the reflection at the bottom of the jar. I'm gonna start adding some more, just kind of like random reflections in the on the jar. In the reference photo, it's actually reflecting the surface, the wooden surface that it's on. Obviously, with the keychain, I'm not going to have that wooden surface. But I think that the pattern looks cool enough that I can keep it incorporated onto the jar. It does look a bit odd right now. Just trust the process. Here I'm taking a very thin pen. I don't use this pen too often. This is like, aside from my brush, like really the only other drawing pen or drawing tool that I use. It's more to get like refinements in. Don't have to use it. The nice thing about my program that I use, Paint Tool Sai, is that it's super simple. There's nothing complex about it at all. You really like just choose the brushes that you like and just start trying. It's funny because I don't know any other artists that currently still use Paint Tool Sai. I think most people have like moved on to I guess more sophisticated programs. Like I think oh, I don't know the names anymore. But I know iPad has a lot of popular apps. But I myself don't have an iPad. I prefer using a PC just because I can pull up multiple screens. I guess you could with an iPad. You could have like your phone on the side with the reference and whatnot. It's like, I don't know how you would even stream then. So I like PC. I'm just kind of old school like that. Sometimes people at conventions will ask me what I use. And I'll say Paint Tool Sai and they're like, what? Like I'm talking a foreign language to them. The cool thing about this program, not sponsored or anything obviously, but it was developed by one guy. Some like it's a Japanese developer, and he did this all by himself, and he's basically supported the software for many years. There's not a lot of updates to it, just because I guess it's a one-man team. But you know, if you're ever interested in drawing software, I think this is a decent option. If you don't need anything fancy, I know some people like to use like, you know, special blending modes and brushes and all that, but I don't really think you need it. I think you can make a lot of things look good with some really basic tools. As long as your drawing program has like blending options, as in when you draw, like the colors will blend and it's not just like binary yes or no. And I think you're good to go. I do appreciate that he added like a blur feature. So in a lot of my prints in the backgrounds, I'll have the backgrounds blurred so that the viewer can focus on the foreground, which is like usually the Pokemon and the food. In the past versions of Sai, he didn't have a blur option, so I actually had to go to Photoshop. And the only time I would use Photoshop basically was just to add a blur to the background and nothing more. when I rewatch myself do these streams, I realize I do a lot of like random brushstroke that don't really add to the piece. Like sometimes I'm literally just stroking and like it's not even really doing anything. So I think I have to learn to kind of reduce the amount of useless strokes I do. Really just paint, um, apply paint strokes that will make a difference to the final painting. I think that'll make me more efficient. I think starting out as an artist, I was quite obsessed with perfection, getting every single stroke in my painting look exactly like the reference photo. I don't think that's the way to go about it. I think you want to feel free when you're drawing. And these days I'm a lot more liberal with my brush strokes. I don't really care if the brushstroke is not perfect. I think that's part of the appeal of art. Let's blend this here a little bit. Let's zoom out a little bit. So it's not bad. I think I do need to make the blueberry section a little more like reddish. Right now it's a bit too purple. And part of the reason is because I'm looking at my drawing tablet screen. On my drawing tablet screen, the color isn't great. Like I actually have to have like a preview version on my other, like my real computer monitor to see where like the actual color, like a more representative color of how it will actually print. So I think my monitor screen is not very good quality, unfortunately. That's why I don't like when people ask what tablet I use, I'm a bit like, it's not a great tablet. It's fine. I just use like a separate monitor to supplement it just because I don't find that the image quality is great. It's good enough. Not the best. So in terms of what made me change my approach, uh, like being a perfectionist, I think it was part of it was like I also wanted to be more efficient when drawing. So back then it took me so many hours to draw a single piece. Sometimes it would take me like, I don't know, 15, 20 hours. And I knew that that wasn't the best use of my time. Sorry, just got a little bit of a cough. Sorry. Yeah, so it wasn't the best use of my time. And because my goal was to be able to, make prints and just have like a variety of art in my portfolio, I think at some point, and my art teacher mentioned this before in grade 9, she said that it's better to be good and be done than to kind of like just stick to a single thing. I think you'll learn more when you do kind of move on. And this is not ever like your current piece is not going to be your final piece, right? They're always going to be making more and more art. So don't worry if it doesn't look perfect. That's not the point. Art's supposed to be like an expression of yourself. Obviously, you want to learn from your art. So always draw with the goal of like having something that you want to learn, or like a new maybe like a new technique you learned from a YouTube video, and then try to apply it to your current piece. I find that helps a lot. Just like learning new art theories or like techniques from other artists, and then just testing it out in your piece. I think that's like a fun way of painting. Like when I was watching speed paints and stuff, occasionally I would kind of pick up on what the artist did that differed from me. Like for example, an artist starting out with a gray canvas, and so I tested that and I realized that it did help me choose colors that I normally felt uncomfortable with. As a new artist, I was always uncomfortable using blacks and grays and like muddy browns, and I'm like, because I look at the color and I'm like, this looks so unappealing. Like I don't want to use this color, and I don't know like how to kind of control it in my piece. But when you shy away from sort of the grayer colors, it makes your piece feel overly saturated almost, and like very flat, funnily enough. Gray adds a lot of depth to your piece, so don't like feel bad about using desaturated colors. In fact, like desaturated colors are quite easy to blend together and make your piece feel very harmonious. So don't be afraid to use like weird colors. I'm actually going to move on from the jar for a little bit because sometimes I just have like a short attention span and I want to jump to different elements. It's also good to kind of keep like, I find most like I like keeping most things around the same stage. So you don't want to just like overly render one thing and not render the rest of the piece. You guys are probably like, where's the top of the jar? I'm intentionally not painting the top of the jar just yet, because what's going to happen is the top of the jar is going to wrap around the top. So there's no point in painting it now because I still have to paint the blueberries because everything's on a single layer. I don't want to have to like override the top of the jar when I'm painting in the blueberries. So I'm just leaving that for later. It's all strategic. Blueberries can be very dark sometimes, especially where the light doesn't hit them. So make your shadows quite dark, and like compared to the light, it does make your piece more interesting, I find. Don't be afraid to go dark. And we're going to increase some of the saturation. Basically where the shadow transitions to light, sort of in the midpoint. Do want to add a little bit of color here. That's often where we see a lot of color. To be honest, I haven't drawn this much in a long time. Like yesterday was probably one of my longest drawing sessions in a while. I usually have like this problem of kind of losing like kind of my attention. Sometimes you're drawing and it gets a bit like I get a bit antsy and I like to do other things. I do find that what helps is listening to podcasts or talking to you guys. Just basically something that kind of engages the brain as I draw. Keeps me interested. So thank you guys for asking me to stream. Oh, commissions? So I've been asked about commissions a lot, and I think it's because I don't open them enough. Honestly, I am gonna be busy till at least May, probably like end of May. I might consider opening them in the future, but for now, it is not open yet. Just because I have a lot of conventions coming up, so I do have to prep a lot of products. So yesterday's Marie and today's Spheal, these guys are going to become keychains and stickers. I probably won't have time to put them up on my online shop for a little while because I'm going to be traveling to cons. Going to Calgary twice actually, I think. Once in April and then once in May. So I got accepted to Calgary Expo and then Waterfest. Then I also got into Icon in Winnipeg, so that's later in the year. It's just a lot of traveling, and sometimes I'm like, is it worth traveling to these conventions? Just because like physically, like guys, you don't understand how tiring it is to always have to lug basically 50-pound suitcases. Because I have to bring all my product with me. Oh, you got a few prints for me from Calgary, so that's so nice. Thank you so much for supporting me. And thank you for joining my stream, Anxious. I don't want to say anxious thoughts because that's I think it just like thoughts like the way it's spelled. It just yeah, sorry. Um I'm just gonna call you Anxious. Alright, so I'm not done with the blueberries, but I am going to jump on over to the cherries. Because I have zero attention span sometimes. Let's shade the cherries first. Actually, I think it's better practice to shade before you go into the highlights. Because the highlights are like very like you have to go kind of precise with the highlights. Because the shadows is kind of like your, you can kind of shade however you want. The highlights is like you have to put it in a specific position. Let's make the shadows a little cooler too. And see how right now or earlier the shadows looked a little flat? And that's because I only used red. Don't want to do that. Do you want to like change up the hue usually? Especially for like red objects, I find like what's a pleasant combination would be kind of like yellowish highlights and then reddish, almost purplish shadows. Gives it a lot of depth. And now let's lighten it up a tiny bit. It's too orange. I always find red a little challenging to paint because when I paint, I usually paint quite like my natural instinct is to go super light and super washed out. So red almost feels like it's like a violent color for me, like violently red. It almost makes me a little uncomfortable. Some colors make me feel uncomfortable to use. Red, I think, is one of them. But once you get the rendering down, it's quite satisfying. I know right now it just looks like nonsense to you guys. The shadows, don't worry about it. It will turn out okay. Just trust the process. See, look at that. You zoom out and actually looks like reflections, doesn't it? On the jar. So yes, the individual strokes make 0 sense, but it's okay. Because overall, like, it's weird. Our brains just kind of can piece together the story. So don't worry too much about it. Okay, so there's actually not a whole lot of shading going on. Looking at the reference photo, it's mostly just red, and there's not a lot of contrast in cherries aside from the highlights. So I'm going to go ahead and add those in. I find shiny objects like cherries, I wouldn't say easy, but it's like, it's satisfying to draw shiny objects because I find that once you place the highlights, it does make it look so much better than when you just plop down the shadows. With the shadows alone, it kind of feels like nothing. Then you start adding in the highlights and yeah, look at that. Suddenly the piece looks much better, doesn't it? Okay, I will add some more shadow. The cherries are probably going to be the easiest part of the piece, to be honest. It's funny because there's so many cherries in the reference photo that I don't even know what cherry I'm really looking at or what I'm referencing, but it's fine. It doesn't have to be exact. I don't want it to be exact. Yeah, it's funny because like it almost like looks like there's a lot going on in terms of the shading, but it's literally like I slapped on some white and it already looks much better with the highlights. So yeah, sometimes some objects are just easier to draw than others. Whereas the jar that I was painting earlier took a while, right? Like literally talk about that jar for, I don't know, 30 minutes maybe? 30 plus minutes. And that's just a single jar. I haven't drawn machinery in a very long time. Like I'm talking like probably over a decade. And I remember I think drawing machines was one of the hardest things. I don't even remember. I think I was trying to draw a motorcycle for some reason, just for like my own. It was a personal art piece. And oh my god, the amount of like gears and stuff in a motorcycle or on a motorcycle, it's crazy. And it requires so much precision. I guess like artistically, you could kind of just not detail all the gears. Depends what you're going for. I know some like artists go super detailed. The ones that can draw like, I don't know, like Gundams and stuff like that, they they're very talented. For me, I just draw simple stuff like fruit and Spheal. Oops. Oh, great. But yeah, never be afraid to use references. They're your best friend. I wouldn't suggest using like another artist's art as like your only reference. It's always good to reference real life because real life will have so much detail. If you reference another artist, the thing is you're also referencing how they simplified reality. Okay, bye, I. Have a good night. But yeah, you always want to look at reality because that's end of the day, that's what art is often based on, unless you're going for something super abstract. These cherries are looking quite plump and delicious. I still have to draw the bottoms of the cherries. I haven't done that yet. Like you know, like little black nubs on cherries. I still have to do those, but I do those at the end because I have to like kind of shade the body of the cherries first. You don't want the nubs to get in the way of your painting. So it's all intentional. And to be honest, I don't have to go like super detailed just because I know that this is going to turn into basically like a 2.5 inch keychain and sticker. So I don't have to go too crazy with the details. Like you know, never work harder than you have to, obviously. It's basically my way of living. I used to work super hard at work, and I realized I'm like literally the only person who cares. So after a while, I'm just like, whatever. I am gonna care as much as however much everyone else cares. I think that's helped me a lot. I think I'm gonna start detailing the Spheal a little more so it doesn't look like just some kind of eyeless blob. I tend to like leave the eyes out. I guess like for streamers, or sorry, not streamers, for viewers, not a very good experience, is it? I will merge the layers now because I don't. Actually, no, I'm gonna keep the layers separate because I think it's easier to paint the Spheal. Because you know how I've already like painted the cherries at the front. I don't want my brush strokes to kind of go over that. Oh, as I always say, I do like to work with as minimal layers as possible to simplify my process. But normally I basically don't really work with anything more than like 3, maybe 4 layers, but honestly it's like max maybe 3. Because my brain just can't like function with more layers. I would actually get very confused. And I'll start like painting on the wrong layer. And then like I end up getting annoyed and I just merge it all at the end anyway. Spheal is super cute. I don't think I appreciated Spheal very much when it came out. Like, yeah, I thought it was kind of cute. I never really paid that much attention to it. Like, I did do a print and I liked it. But I think, like, I really appreciated it more after the new Pokemon Snap. Don't know if any of you guys have played it. But it's nice because like a lot of these Pokemon spin-off games, they I don't know if it's because it's not the main developer, like Game Freak or whatever, but I find that the spin-off games, they really showcase like how Pokemon interact with the environment. And I think that's so cool. My boyfriend got me Pokopia, which was probably a mistake because it is taking over my life right now. I told him to basically ban the game from me until, and I'm only allowed to play it after I draw every day. Because otherwise I would get no drawing done. Alright, now actually let's take a look at that Spheal reference again. Let's get key. I'm also gonna look back at my actual sketch and I paint that I sketched out earlier. Just want to make sure I get the expression right. So the interesting thing is when I started drawing, like, as in when I was pretty new to art, I was actually terrible at drawing cute stuff. Like, I could not draw, like, chibi, I could not draw, you know, like, little animals like this. Make sure I get this ear placement right. Somewhere here. Yeah, that's about right. Yeah, I was so off because I didn't really understand how to make someone look or a character look cute. What are my settings? See that you have a few things enabled that I don't have. For example, see blending, dilution, persistence, blur, pressure. So I think I don't really know what these are. Like, let me try playing with this. Does this change anything? Oh, I see. So I think the blending, if you go really high, it's actually like I can't even get like the color is weird. It doesn't really pick properly. So I keep it at 50. And then let's say I choose this dark color. Yeah, so it'll translate. Like it goes on the canvas fine. If I do like that same dark color and I go 100 on the blending, I'm pressing very hard on this, by the way, and it doesn't even like register. So I think it only registers if you kind of like push. If you push the colors with each other. But yeah, I just keep it to 50. I actually have like no idea what the rest of this is. I think I kept it mostly to the defaults. But yeah, play around with the brush settings to whatever suits your needs. Look how happy this little guy is. Just playing in his little parfait. I think I find that sometimes the expressions and the poses that I use are very cat-like, sorry. I'm pretty sure that's because I own two cats and I've had cats for a very long time. My my logo, which is like a white cat, is actually based on the first cat I ever had. Her name was Kiwi. She passed away in 20, I want to say it was like 2019 or something like that. So, wow, it was a few years ago. She was a very lovely cat, though. Very friendly. I want to make sure that when you have like one object kind of overlapping with another, that you show like a cast shadow basically, unless like for some reason you believe there shouldn't be one. Generally, when one object is on top of another and there's a light source, I'm gonna cast a shadow. Just want to make sure that in there. Otherwise, it doesn't feel like the objects are interacting with each other. So you can kind of see that for Spheal, its lip is kind of going over the rest of the body, which is why I'm doing that. Oh, I do think the blue on this Spheal might be just a little too turquoise. I think I want to change that. I'm gonna make the lips a little rounder. A tiny bit droopier. Oh, you know what I'm missing? I'm missing technically the lip should be like this. I'm gonna make the arm. I'm gonna move the arm. It's sort of in the way of the mouth. Oh, you guys can hear the cat. Got a little gremlin living with me. Her name is Calby. She is the second cat that I have living with me. She's a little demon. She, I think, wants to go out into the hallway of my apartment, but I am not letting her because I find that when I do that, she likes to yell outside people's doors and I don't want to disturb them. So sometimes I'll let her out when I supervise her, but yeah, she has limited access to outside. I will add another arm later. Oh, good, you figured it out. That's great. Yeah, there's two versions of Paint Tool Side. There is a version 1, and then there's a version 2. So just be careful because version 2 is technically still like beta. It's been in beta for God knows how long, but it's stable enough for me to use. Like it's good enough. I think sometimes like it's like I don't know. I think there's like parts of it that don't work 100%. As in like sometimes if I look at previews of my files, like if I do like a file open, sometimes the preview doesn't show up properly. But it's like so minor. Like I think version 2 works well enough. Isn't he so cute? Still have to give him his little fangs too. I think we're doing pretty good for time. I think I might actually be done around 10, a little after 10 p.m. EST. I think, am I ready to merge this? No, I'm not going to merge it yet. Just debating whether to put all my layers together. Don't want to do that just yet. I feel like I'm probably going to painting the Spheal a little more. So I'd rather me painting the Spheal not interfere with like the cherries and the blueberries. Like you see here, how I'm like adding more shadows. Don't want that to interfere with the cherries. All right, let me go back to the blueberries because the blueberries are not done. Far from done. Go back to my reference picture. And zoom in a tiny bit for the blueberries because I know that basically overall the piece looks fine. So that's when you can start really zooming in and working on the details. When you are satisfied that the overall piece is looking like it's in a pretty good state. Don't get too like caught up in the details from the get-go, otherwise you lose the big picture. I remember learning about this drawing program, Paint Tool Sci, on DeviantArt. This is probably like, God, almost 20 years now. That's how old I am. I'm like turning 34 this year. I was on DeviantArt at a very young age. Nowadays, no one uses it. Apparently, someone like found my Joltik art on DeviantArt recently. Like they told me at Toronto Comic Con, and I'm like, who uses DeviantArt these days? Like I still do. I still post to it just like as a portfolio, because it's been like I have been posting it to it for like I don't know like a decade or something. So there's no way I was gonna stop. I almost forgot that I still have to paint the top of the jar. So if I somehow like say, oh, I'm done, and you guys see there's no like top of the jar, please just let me know. I'm quite forgetful. Sometimes like I'll finish a drawing and like I'm so fixated on what I did finish that I forget what's still outstanding. Sometimes I miss the most obvious things. Like I think like sometimes I'll miss I don't know, detailing like one part of a print and then I leave it like obviously unfinished. But then to me, because I've looked at it for so long, I'm like, hey, whatever, it's good. And then like I'll have my boyfriend point out. And he'll be like, you're not done this part. And I'll be, oh, you're right. Sometimes it's like you kind of need a second eye, second set of eyes. You just look at an art print or an art piece for too long. It doesn't have to be super detailed because again, it's going to be like very small products. So it's best not to go obsessing over the details. It's not white enough. It's funny because when Macy was asking me about the settings of my brush, I looked at it and I'm like, are those even the right settings? Did I accidentally change the settings? Because I actually don't recall if I ever used 75 blending or whatever it was. Oh, I forgot to draw the ends of the chair, even though I was talking to your ex about it. Oops. See, that's what I mean. Like, I will literally forget. The nice thing is once you start like filling out an art piece is you can really start just eye dropping a lot of the colors. You don't really always have to go back to the color wheel and like pick a brand new color. Like just color drop from the stuff like the stuff you've already painted. It keeps your painting cohesive and it's just less work, you know. You've already selected the color or the color's already been, you know, mixed and stuff, so why not take it? Blueberries are looking pretty good. And I said this yesterday, but I do like adding the highlights later. Don't like adding them right away. Because you do have to be a bit careful with the highlights. Just want to make sure you place them where you want them to be. Shadows are a little more forgiving. Highlights, you have to be a bit careful. You guys see me pausing sometimes when I'm painting. You'll see like sometimes I'll have like, I don't know, moments where my mouse just stops. It's just because I'm looking at the reference photo and just checking against my painting and seeing if I need to change anything or if I have to add any details. It's always good to like really observe, use your eyes. I don't recommend tracing too much. I know some people say that it's good for learning. I personally don't quite agree with that. I think the best teacher is your own eyes. It is pretty satisfying painting in the reflected. See how there's like a little bit of reflected highlights. I don't know what these are called, but they're not like as strong as the main light source. But I do like adding these little, the not main highlights. I don't even know the official term for this. Reflected light, maybe? I think that's what it's called. As you can tell, I am not classically trained. A lot of the stuff I just kind of learned on my own. I do wish I had the opportunity to learn art in university. But unfortunately, the school that I went to didn't have art, like visual art, because it was a smaller school. I went there for economics and accounting. So, pretty kind of standard job. And I'm still working in accounting, a full-time job. Helps pay the bills. And I have really like seriously thought of doing art full-time. But it's just really scary because you go from having a stable paycheck to being like revenue generating yourself. So you can't like basically what you earn is how much effort you put into your business. That's a bit scary for me because yeah, like my revenues are decent from conventions and stuff like that, but can I pay my mortgage? Can I pay the groceries? So for now, I'm just gonna keep doing art on the side. If my art business ever pops off and I do really well, then I think I will seriously consider just taking a leap. How did I start learning art? I think honestly, so in terms of how I got interested in art was I was always interested in art actually. So I think part of it was because my parents actually got me into anime. Though I think at the time I didn't really register it as anime. So um, I'm from Hong Kong and anime was already kind of big there. So I grew up like watching Pokemon, Sailor Moon, and Studio Ghibli before Ghibli even got big in the West actually. So I grew up watching a lot of like old Ghibli films like Porco Rosso and Kiki's Delivery Service, Nausicaa as well. So I think that really got me interested in art because like even from anime itself, you kind of learn to appreciate that kind of style. And then from there, so somehow as a kid, I became like a horse girl. I didn't own any horses, but I read a lot of books about horses for some reason, and I loved them. So because I liked them so much, I drew them. I drew a lot of horses. I was not very good at them. For some reason, my horses always had droopy butts, like as in their butts were sagging, and they were really big butts. Um, but I kept drawing because I loved horses. And like of course I had to like draw or I had to try drawing like one of the most complicated animals ever. So yeah, from there I just kept drawing. I think I moved back to drawing like anime art mostly around middle school, high school. Grade 9 I took grade 9 art class. And that's basically it in terms of formal instruction. I didn't really have a whole lot more instruction aside from that. So it's really just like, I think it was just the type of media I consumed made me want to kind of replicate that in art. But in terms of like how you guys can learn art, like definitely there's so many resources now. YouTube is probably one of the best resources. Just like watch how people paint, like speed paints or I don't know, like time lapses and things like that. Um, and then you kind of look at the order of operations of how people do things, like the colors that they choose. Um, and you just observe, just like how you would observe the reference photos. Like observe other artists who kind of pick up on what they do and see if other artists do it too. And kind of like think about why they do it. In terms of the YouTube channel that I mentioned yesterday, so a really good one is Marco Bucci. So Bucci as in Bucci. He has, I think, some of the best tutorials on color and light theory. Not sponsored, obviously, by him. He has his own art courses. I've never taken the art courses because you have to pay for those, so I just like consume his free YouTube videos, which still supports him because he gets some YouTube ad revenue, I'm sure. He's a great illustrator. His paintings are so rich in color, and he's so bold with it without it being too like overly like it doesn't look like color diarrhea, you know what I mean? Like it's not like overly colorful, but like tastefully, like he'll add colors everywhere and somehow still make it look super cohesive, and that's very impressive. And I don't know, like I don't think I could ever be as good as him, but he's a great inspiration. There's also a book that I like to. I actually bought a physical copy. It's called oh shoot. It's by a guy called James Gurney, Gurnvy. It's a color and light or something like that. I think it has a bird on the cover. That one's also really great. Quite technical also, and introduces like different concepts, like theories that you need to consider. Things like reflected light and ambient shadows. How do you paint green without it looking kind of like a sickly green, or like that kind of thing? Because yeah, when you paint green, it actually tends to be too green. You actually want to always incorporate like yellows and blues and green. I'm sorry, my robot vacuum's just going off. And then even like have little specks of red if you're like painting leaves and grass and stuff like that. Because there's like browns, right? In leaves and nature. And then green tends to look a bit like a sickly green. I don't know how to explain it. It just doesn't look pleasant if you go too green. Let's take a look. Okay, I think I'm almost done. I have to add one more arm for Spheal. Just check if Spheal has any patterns on his coat. Oh, he does. He has like little circles. I forgot about that. Oh, yeah, jar top that too. See, I forget all the time. I'm sure there's like a lot of errors in my art pieces that I don't even realize. Yeah, I do have to draw like the little circles. And it's interesting because these are white circles, right? But you'll see that the color that I use is actually like But look at this. It's like almost like a dark bluish gray. Because we have to remember that the white is in shadow. So it's actually very dark. Just remember that. Our brain somehow still registers that it's white. I'm gonna outline the ears. Otherwise it gets a bit lost in the body. Make sure I add like a little shadow. It's being casted. Ooh, that looks a bit off. Do have to fix its mouth a bit. I don't think it's drooping enough. It's droopy. It's like basically like a big lip that it has, doesn't it? Yeah, let's make the other lip droopy too. I think that's what was wrong with her. I'm also going to lower the eyes a bit. So if you ever study anatomy, you'll learn that for kind of younger people, their eyes are actually set lower compared to the rest of their face. And then as we get older, I guess like because our faces get bigger, so in relation to the rest of the face, then the eyes kind of tend to go higher and higher as you're older. So it's more baby-like if you set them a bit lower down the face. And I used to study a bit of anatomy. It's kind of for fun because I used to like drawing anime characters. So that's kind of where I learned it from. I actually read a book from authored by Bern Hogarth. I think that's how you say his name. The artist of Tarzan. He was actually his book was quite difficult to read because it was a very like professionally written. Like it's not an easy read, let's just say that. I think even for me, if I was to read it these days, I would find it a bit difficult to follow. Sometimes the terms that he uses gets very scientific, like he'll name the very specific muscle masses. It's getting a little much. but it's a very good learning resource if you ever want to draw human characters. He has an entire book dedicated to, I think, just like the face and the head. That's how complicated it can be. This is what happens when you don't sketch in the beginning. Sometimes you have to go back and fix the form. I should have made the lips droopy from the start, and I didn't. So now I'm kind of paying for it. And I'm just weird and I just don't like sketching. I don't like starting with sketches anymore. Not sure why. I think it's because, like, for a while I was experimenting, like changing my style and stuff. I'm not drawing Pokemon, but I think I was actually like drawing humans. And then I tried like painting like a human face and torso without the use of lines, just to challenge myself. I quite liked it. That was quite fun. I don't know if it's a good approach. Let's get the head a little more shiny. Are you guys ready? I think I'm gonna give it teeth now. It's been toothless for this entire painting process, and I feel bad for it. I think it deserves some teeth. What you guys say? So. Alright, let's add some teeth. I'm actually not sure I'm done with the jar. I'm gonna go back and check. Okay, so even with the teeth, we want to make sure we shade the teeth too. I will outline it. So otherwise, I think it's easy to miss the teeth because they're so light, and it's kind of blending in with the rest of the like the belly of the Spheal. And I am gonna lighten the lines just a bit, because right now they're kind of sticking out. I never really like using black lines. I think black lines are a bit harsh. I remember, I think when I was a younger artist, I really liked seeing artists who use very bold lines, like thick colored lines, not like super crazy like hot pink lines or anything like that, but they're like very pleasant colors. colorful, but not too colorful. I think I made the teeth too big, actually. Fix that. I'm actually going to give him like tiny nubs for his teeth. That's a little cuter. Yeah, that's much cuter. Like he's still a baby. He is. Oh, you know what? In that case, I don't think you'll even really see his teeth, his tooth here. Okay. Move this tooth over. So I do need to fix the center point of his mouth. So if I actually draw a center line across his face, just like this, see how off-center the mouth is? Basically that line, like I'm drawing it as if it was some kind of ball, like a real ball, right? As if you're wrapping a piece of string or rope. So I'm gonna fix that. The nice thing about digital art is it's so forgiving. You make a mistake like that and it's fine, you just fix it. Try that with watercolor. It would be just a disaster. Slowly fixing this feel. This is what I get for not having a sketch at the start. It's alright though. So yeah, I guess lesson of the stream, don't listen to me. Don't follow the way I paint because I paint very weirdly. Right, another thing I like to do, just stylistically, I like to add almost like a kind of like a blush, but not really. Like I'm kind of darkening the cheeks here a little bit, using the same color of the body. I don't make it pink or anything. almost like it's blushing. And then just my own little style. I don't know why I do this, but I like to add like 2 little lines. Just think it looks a little cuter. Okay, I will, actually, I still need to paint the tail. I still have the jar top in mind. Thank you for reminding me. Otherwise, I might have forgotten it. Okay, I'm going to add its second arm, finally. Poor little Spheal, it just only has one arm right now. We'll fix that. So I think the arm can go somewhere here. And do you think I will have to move the cherry closest to its arm? So otherwise it kind of looks like there's something wrong. Like the cherry's not supposed to be there, basically. So I think I will move it. We'll have to redraw that top of the blueberry, that's okay. Oops. This is what I mean, I keep painting on the wrong layer. It's supposed to be drawing on the blueberry layer, the food layer. My little brain can't handle more than 2 layers at a time. gonna merge the layers soon. I think I can stand working with 3 whole layers anymore. Okay, I think I'm gonna merge everything. Don't think I need to move around any elements or really paint much more of the seal. So Spheal. Let me add some more reflections to the jar. Glass reflections are actually, they're quite beautiful. And you don't have to render like everything that you see in the reflection. Just like, you know, just get like the vaguest. I get the idea. Get the blobs in. And then the viewer's mind will kind of do the rest for you. Just gonna add a tiny bit more texture to these blueberries. So in real life, blueberries have like little specks. You know, it's not like a perfectly round thing. So I'm just gonna add like little specks just to give it some interest. And to be honest, I'm not sure if people will even see it. But it doesn't take me that long, so I'm just gonna do it. Right? No one is ever going to notice this on their sticker, but that's okay. And one thing I like to do when I'm close to finishing, I do like to play around with the contrast a bit. Usually I'll up the contrast. Now I think that the contrast on the jar is more or less fine. Actually no, I will up the contrast. There we go. Suddenly it gives it a nice pop. So just comparison before, you see how faded that looks, and then after kind of gives it a much more crispy pop to it. And I'm just going to play with the saturation just to see if I need to up it just a tiny bit. Especially on that Spheal, it's looking a tiny bit dull. So up to the saturation. I actually don't really notice much of a difference, but that's okay. All right. So the long-awaited jar top. Jar top is really easy. It's mostly white, some grays in there. I will do it on a separate layer, just in case I screw up, or if I feel like I need to move the jar top. Right, so basically it's gonna go around. Let's see here. Go around. Actually, that doesn't make sense. It has to go behind the Spheal's arm. So we're going to keep drawing the rest of the top. always kind of hurts when you have to like draw a layer over something that you've already spent so long on, but just necessary because yes, I'm going to cover some of the detail, but not all of it. Just kind of hurts to see all that hard work you covered up will be worth. Otherwise, the jar doesn't make any sense. And what I'm drawing here is the sort of like the metal handles to a jar. I was debating on not drawing the handles, just keeping it simple. But I think the piece is simple enough, so I think a little detail wouldn't hurt. Metal, I find, can be a little difficult. I wouldn't say difficult, I think it's more detailed. You have to be a little precise with it. Because there's a lot of contrast to metal. Because it's quite shiny. There's like the dark parts. And then there's highlights as well. Looks pretty awful right now, but don't worry. It'll be fixed. Can add a somewhat translucent layer here. To cover up the berries. Because the glass is gonna not make everything so visible, right? I'm also, I'm thinking of this. So the gray in the background is throwing me off a bit because I'm also going to be painting with the pretty similar gray for the metal. So I'm actually gonna get rid of this background and I'm gonna paint a totally separate color just so I can differentiate it a bit. So I don't know, maybe I'll do like red or something. So now it's easier for me to see the metal. And if you guys ever have anything that you want me to talk about in terms of like art, maybe there's something you want to learn, or you have any questions or anything like that, just let me know. I'm not a professional, but I'll tell you what I think I know. So you can get my opinion. Then you can always, take it with a grain of salt. But yeah, you get my opinion at least. And as small of a component, the metal pieces, it is important. It kind of adds to it. It's like a little detail that you don't really think about, but I think it adds to the realism. Well, thank you. It took me a long time to get to this point where I can draw like decently fast. I think a lot of the work does, like it's basically if you can find a decent reference, it really does help you. Like it kind of gives you confidence that what you're drawing makes sense in reality because that's, how it looks like in real life. So that gives me a lot of confidence. And for me, it's just kind of like, oh, just trust the process. You know that this is what the object looks like in real life. So just draw it. Like, don't think too much. Don't think too hard. And then that kind of helps, I think, with the speed. Because like, if I trust myself and I trust what reality is and what I'm looking at, then it really does help. I think as an artist, eventually when you do want to make so money off your art, you do have to learn to be like a little efficient. Otherwise, you're always stuck drawing that same piece. And you'll never, you have to have like a decent amount of different art pieces, right? And it is a bit sad because nowadays, because AI is sort of a real threat, do get a lot of questions from people as to whether, you know, the art is AI. Some people don't even like ask and they just assume and then walk away, which is, I think, the saddest part. I remember one time at Ottawa, I overheard I think he was a teenager, kind of like explaining to his friends how my art was AI, and I guess he thought that I couldn't hear him, or maybe he thought I wasn't the artist or something. And it's just kind of like, oh, look at this, like the lines, they don't really like make sense, blah blah blah. And then it was just kind of sad to hear, and I didn't really, I don't know, I just didn't want to confront him. But it's a bit sad that I think young people have to scrutinize so much. Whereas back in my day, it was just like, oh, this is someone's art, probably, most likely. There's a lot less skepticism and a lot less requirement for the artist to prove that they're authentic. But it's a different world, I guess. Honestly, I think AI was a bit of a mistake. Like, I know that it helps and it speed processes up, but I don't think it generates anything. It doesn't add anything, I think. It can only copy and replicate. Yeah, it does have the artists have to deal with it. I actually made like an Instagram reel on it, and it's honestly like my most popular reel by far. Because I think it just resonates with so many people. The fact that AI has kind of taken over the whole world. Companies want to use it so that they can save money or find efficiencies or whatever they want to call it. I think short term, it's a bit overrated right now by companies. I think long term it has potential to be something better. But I think it's also up to governments to really govern the use of AI, and even the EU isn't really doing that, is it? And they're all about consumer protection, consumer and I guess just protections in general. So it's a bit disappointing that no one's really taking the initiative. Even I think on the music front, there are artists that, you get people using AI to mimic their voices. That's kind of awful. Yeah, it was really bad. I think like the first year or so when AI really took off, like I heard so many AI comments about my art. it was a bit disheartening. But it's gotten a bit better now, and I think people realize that not everything is AI. That initial scrutiny is kind of fading away now. But it will never be the same again. It will never be like before. So you just kind of have to adapt, and you kind of just have to prove that you're authentic, I guess. Just post process videos, stream like this, and then at least you have backup, right? To show people that you're real. Random. I don't know why I suddenly thought about this, but I'm gonna give Spheal some nostrils. There we go. Much better. I'm almost done, guys. I'm sorry you guys have to go through this like really boring metalwork part. I know it's not the most fascinating. It has to be done. add some specks as well in the yogurt itself. Just to show that, you know, it's not just like it has like little imperfections to it. It's always a bit scary just adding like random lines to your artwork, so you never know if you mess up. All right. Just zooming out a lot because I just like to make sure that it looks good from afar. I think it does. So what I'm gonna do now, I think I'm gonna merge all the layers, and then I'm going to add like what they call a water fringe in this program. It's basically a border around your artwork, and it's just because I'm too lazy to draw my own border from scratch. So if you look at it with and without, it's a big difference. I think it's pretty good. I am gonna touch it up a little bit because usually the border that the program generates is pretty like rough. Like it's nowhere near perfect. There's a lot of things you could do better than it. So it's just like a good starting point, basically. And then I just fix it up a little bit. It does a lot of the heavy lifting for me. Because like, you know, drawing a border is just a border. I don't want to spend too much time on it. Just fixing up some of the changes that it made because the lines are a little harsh. And it messed up some of my work I did earlier. It's okay. Still faster than me drawing the board myself. Alright, Spheal's looking pretty good. Look at that. I'm so happy. Let's see if I need to up the brightness. Yeah, up the brightness slightly. And I think the yellow part of its belly is a little dull right now, so I'm just gonna up the saturation. Like almost like a sickly green, which I don't want. I want it more like a cute orangey yellow. So let's try to, yeah, there you go. Cheating if I do this. It's okay. Come to terms that digital has a lot of things. Give its head a little more shine. And then finally, I'm going to add the last layer, which is a shine layer. Just gives like a nice lighting effect that I have on basically all my pieces. Gives it like a little polish, I guess, and gives the little piece like a lot of warmth, which I like. So you have to be careful. You don't want to go like too crazy with this because sometimes it can look like overly shiny and unnatural. So you don't want that either. This one can give it like a little glow, especially where it's shiny. You see how the metal, it's like too yellow? It's okay, we'll fix that. Basically, I'm going to desaturate it because I know for sure I like the brightness, but the color of the light is a bit much. And we'll also color the jar. So it does give like a lot more interest. So what I'm using to make it look shiny. So I use a mode called Shine. And I usually use like a soft brush, so I just opt to use the watercolor. You can use any soft brush. And then in this mode, I tend to use like a dark brownish yellow. That's the color of the light that I want it to be. And that's sort of like the little secret sauce that I have to a lot of my pieces that makes it look so warm and inviting. So I will be saturated a bit around the middle parts. So I don't want the metal looking too yellow. Alright. And what's funny is I have this terrible habit of not saving my work. So the past like almost 3 hours I've been working, it's still new canvas 1 because I literally haven't saved the file at all. So I could have lost like 3 hours of work if I'm not careful. Alright. Yes, I am like the worst. Alright guys, I think that is it for tonight. Yeah, so that was today's piece. Tomorrow, yes, I will save. Okay, good. I will save. Let me save now before I start giving you guys anxiety. Just check the number I want to use for this. Alright. It's been saved. Hey, so that's it then. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm gonna be streaming again tomorrow. Just because I have so many keychains and stuff that I have to make. Same time, be on around like 8 p.m. EST. Yeah, 8 p.m. EST again. Yeah, feel free to join if you want. And I might be drawing Syndical tomorrow if I can't figure out what I want to draw. Alright, thanks a lot. Have a good night. Bye.